Here's what is unbelievably simple. Don't change the exercise. If you want to get the aerobic benefit, go get on your vibration plate or your bike. You're only going to need 3 to 4 minutes, right? If you want to get some strength training hypertrophy benefits, go do the moves: biceps, triceps, chest, back, shoulders, quads, hams, calves. Go do the basic moves that you like to do, and you're going to see hypertrophy. Now, you really want to dive in and get specific, we'll provide you coaching. We'll get specific with you, right? We have things like starters, finishers, alternating days. Now, I don't recommend that for the general population because you're not a professional bodybuilder. But look, I got pro
Right.
bodybuilders, I
Right.
got Olympic athletes. We can customize it. But now we got people who have physical limitations. I got people in wheelchairs. We got programs for them. So we're going to encourage you to do something first and foremost you like to do. Nathan likes to work out the way he likes to work out. He's going to keep doing it in 30 days.
Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I'm Nathan Riley. I'm your host. I'm an MD, OBGYN, board certified. I also have another board specialty in hospice and palliative care, and I've done all this functional medicine training. I've done quite a bit of sort of personal training programs, for me to be able to guide people down the healthiest lifestyle that they possibly can to achieve whatever their goals might be. And ideally, this starts preconception and continues all the way through your pregnancy, into the postpartum period, into your parenting years, and really until the day you die. Because exercise has, of all of the lifestyle modifications, diet is really important. Sleep is really important. It's hard to argue with that. But of all of the lifestyle modifications shown to improve pregnancy outcomes, exercise is the king. Now, that doesn't mean that you can exercise your way through a poor diet. But there is a lot of compelling peer-reviewed research out there that demonstrates that, notice I didn't say prove, because we can't prove anything. Proof is a mathematical concept, but demonstrating through clinical research that if you're exercising regularly, again, from preconception all the way through postpartum, you have a lower chance of virtually every pregnancy complication, including the hypertensive disorders, gestational diabetes, placental insufficiency, lower risk of C-section, shorter pregnancy, shorter labor, a greater chance of having an uncomplicated birth in and of itself, faster postpartum recovery, lesser chance of postpartum depression. This is what's in store, what's at stake for you if you're pregnant. And if you're the partner of somebody who's pregnant, getting your health and your exercise sort of routine dialed in, minimizing the time you're spending in the gym, maximizing your the impacts of your efforts. This is the name of the game. So in our program, Sarah Rosser and I, our program, The Born Free Method, we dedicate a lot of time to helping people modify lifestyle. And the big question that usually remains is, how am I supposed to continue exercising and getting the benefits to the brain through brain-derived neurotropic factor, benefits to the gut and the movement of lymph, and the benefits to your whole cardiovascular system. Improving muscle tone so that you have improved insulin sensitivity, improved bone mineral density and lesser chance of breaking, fracturing any of your bones, greater athletic performance if you do jujitsu or you're some sort of athletic competitor otherwise. How can you get all those benefits if you've got a young baby here and you want to have a responsible sort of approach to your marriage or your partnership, your intimacy afterwards? Well, I used to spend 2 to 3 hours per day in the gym. I was an Ironman distance triathlete, so there were periods of my life where I was doing 16 to 20 hours of exercise per week, even while I was in medical school. That's not what most people do. In fact, I would call myself a crazy person looking back, because we don't need to be in the gym for 2 to 3 hours to get the benefits. We also can't just walk on the treadmill for 30 minutes. It never really gets a fatigue going on, like a deep muscle fatigue. The space in your exercise workout, that moment when you start to feel really, really tired, most of us back off. And that's because it's hard. It's because we're already tired. And maybe we're even like our adrenals are in fatigue, or HPA axis or hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis is kind of fucked. Exercising then actually puts additional stress on the body. So what if there was a way to optimize the results so that you can get back to your job, to your business, to raising children, to the other realities of what it means to be a new parent? If you read this book, this is a book by James Clapp. He's an MD, and Catherine Cram, his co-author, is an MS. They wrote a book called Exercising Through Pregnancy, where they review the vast, let's just say, database of peer-reviewed clinical research that demonstrates all of these benefits that I'm talking about, specifically as they pertain to pregnancy. So many people want to get back to living. They're back to their regular energy levels, build some more muscle and whatnot after birth, because the building a baby process is your priority there. Well, what if there was a system that could do this in less time and give you better results than maybe even you were getting in those 2 to 3 hour workouts? Well, that brings me to my guest today. Mike DeBord is a doctor of chiropractics, and he is the president of a company called B3 Sciences. I was visiting the Kingsburys recently in Austin. Kyle and Tosh Kingsbury both have been guests on the show. Kyle has an amazing podcast called the Living 40s, Paul Check's podcast. Amazing podcast as well. But Kyle's is called the Kyle Kingsbury podcast. And I was visiting them because I was getting all of this chest and neck tattoo work done in Austin. And so I stayed with them as always, because they're dear friends and they're so generous in letting me stay with them and play with their kids and read to their son. And while I was there, I couldn't really exercise because, number one, I didn't have a full gym. But number two, I had just gotten fresh ink. So Kyle said, "Hey, man, I've got an idea. Throw these bands on." And he directs me over to this little backpack. And inside this backpack are these bands. There's this two-inch bands. If you guys aren't watching, like I'm showing you on the camera here, but I'll just describe what I've got here. If you aren't watching, we are on YouTube. Go to the YouTube channel, subscribe, please. You can see the guests in their full essence there. But these bands here, they're 2 inches. They go on right at the top of the thighs, and then they've got smaller ones that go at the top of your arms, right below your armpit. You pump them up with like what looks like a bulb to inflate a blood pressure cuff, but these are not blood pressure cuffs. These are little individual bladders across a band. You're not cutting off blood flow, but you are decreasing the rate of venous return from those working muscles back to the heart. And what happens is you get this massive neurohumoral response when you work out with these bands on for even like 5 minutes. I use them for about 15 to 20 minutes because I'm a crazy person. But as soon as you put these on, you'll find that, like, wow, those 10 even body weight push-ups feel a lot harder now. And the reason for that is that you're restricting venous return. You get this flood of sort of a hormone response in the muscle. You get nitric oxide production. You get lactate as a buffer for that working kind of sort of slightly injurious thing that is called exercise when we're trying to build big muscles or even leaner muscles, or we're trying to lose weight, or we're trying to improve our aerobic endurance or anaerobic endurance or just our full body strength. You wear these bands, and whatever you're doing, even if it's lightweight, it doesn't have to be like your 1 rep max. If you don't know what that means, don't worry, because it's not relevant anymore. If you have these bands on, any exercise that you do is going to be that much more impactful. You get a surge of growth hormone, insulin-like growth factor follows from there. You're going to get brain-derived neurotropic factor release, which decreases brain inflammation. This is really the whole package of what you would like in exercise. And even elderly people are using these to improve bone density, to decrease the risk of falling. You're going to hear an interview within the next couple of weeks from Chris Crawford, if you haven't heard it already. And he is a somatherapist. He's an Eldoa practitioner. He does a lot of sort of body work with people. And one thing that we talk about on the show is that so many men and women are struggling as we age, that they don't really want to go out and play pickleball and do these things. Although Chris is developing a whole strength and conditioning and skill-based program through Freedom Builders to help people who want to dial in their pickleball game. Pickleball is so much fun, but if you're older, you're at risk for injury. maybe aren't as flexible as you used to be, and you're just pounding the pavement then for, maybe 2 to 3 hours, depending on how much you like pickleball. Well, if you had these bands on for the first 5 minutes, you're actually going to get a more robust response to the workouts without any weights. You're just playing pickleball for maybe a little warm-up set for 5 minutes wearing these bands. I don't normally bring people like Mike on the show because I'm not that much into high biohacking, believe it or not. I like going down, picking up heavy kettlebells and doing the work. But I have limited time. And since I was visiting with the Kingsburys and I threw these straps on, man, after 3 sets of 30 reps of push-ups or squats or lunges or, some really, really otherwise easy banded curls with like one of those, band tubes, like green, red, yellow, black, just doing like 30 curls with that with the bands on. And I was like, I really felt that burn, that pump that is really hard to achieve unless you're going for multiple hours in the gym. Or I should say, unless you're lifting very, very heavy weights. So for me, this is a game changer. I see a great use for this in the pre and post-op space. I see a great use for this in pregnancy and postpartum. I see a great space for dads to maintain their physique, maintain their muscular strength and endurance. And again, guys, it's not just about looking good naked. This is about the importance of having healthy, strong muscle and connective tissue and bone in order to live the longest life that you can with the greatest health that you can. So I told Kyle, hey, there's something special here. I started digging into the research, and there is so many benefits to blood flow restriction training, which started in Japan years ago. Fortunately, there's companies like B3 Sciences, and if you want to check this out, go to riley.b3sciences.com, and you can get yourself a set of these bands. But instead of spending 3 months of my hard-earned money on a CrossFit gym, I could have a set of these bands at home and just rip through workouts. Like we're talking 15 minutes. So Mike and I are going to get deep into the science here, get into the applications. And if something in this episode, touches you anyway, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcast. Go to YouTube, subscribe there, like our videos. We're working very, very hard to put out the highest, most rich content here pertaining to women's health and those men or women out there who love women and want to have their, healthy circulating around an optimal, the most healthy lifestyle, I suppose, possible. So share the episode with your friends, leave us some reviews, do all that stuff, and support our sponsors. I try to provide as much public-facing free advice as I possibly can, but I still have to pay bills. And I don't make money on the podcast, but I do need to recoup the costs for a production team with about 10 to 12 virtual assistants. And if you haven't checked out the videos, we have upped our production game there. We have a live in-show producer now. There's just so much that goes into this show. So we have to have a couple sponsors, and I'm fortunate enough to have companies that are so much in alignment with me that I don't really have to worry about that all that much. So first off, if you're watching, you probably saw my mug. I've got a big, beautiful mug here sent to me by my friend Marin Green that has a breech baby on it. We've got a breech conference coming up here at the time of this recording in about a week. The Beloved Holistics Twins Breech Conference here in Louisville, where Stu Fishbein, Milo Chavira, Rick Safries, David Hayes, Betty Ann Davis, Denny Hartung, they're all coming out here to talk about twins, preterm birth, breech birth, and we're going to have 5 sessions of simulators. The roster is completely chock full at this point, but if you reach out to me after hearing this and you want to be on the wait list, get first dibs for next year, please reach out. I don't even know if it's going to be in Louisville. It might be in Austin. Ooh, we'll see. But the other reason I'm showing you my coffee mug is a lot of people ask me for my morning routine, and I just think those videos are like kind of boring. Like not everybody has the same routine every morning. If so, you're kind of a boring person. But recently, I switched coffee from the Cafe Altura, which is the only coffee that I drink. It's biodynamic. It's like as good as it gets. You can go to my website, belovedholistics.com/shop, to find any of the brands that I recommend out there. But I did stop drinking that recently. And since my wife and I started going to bed at 10:30 every night, I'm waking up now at 6:37 without a problem. And I don't want to juice myself up with caffeine. So I've found an alternative. I'd love to to tell you a little bit about it. So the way that I make my coffee in the morning is I boil water, and then I put a scoop of 2 little scoops of Mucuna powder, which is a natural source of L-Dopa. And then I will add 2 scoops of the instant latte, the creamy and sweet and creamy latte from Laird's. That's Laird Hamilton's company. And then a tablespoon of his superfood creamer. And like when we're talking about superfoods, we're talking about functional mushrooms and all these adaptogens and whatnot. And then I top it off with a scoop of Mushy Love, which is made by the same company that is sponsoring the show, the medicine. Mushy Love has tremella, it has slippery elm bark, it has a bunch of other functional mushrooms and all these other great things that are pre and probiotic, adaptogenic, but also will help to heal your gut. So I put a scoop of that in there. I give it a zzz, one of those zizzer things. And then I've got my Morning Joe. This company, the medicine, also makes a great product that has been clinically demonstrated to clear persistent HPV. It's called Immune Intel HCC. It does this simply by increasing NK cells, increasing T cells, how those immune cells are all communicating so that you can integrate the message of HPV as opposed to being worried that HPV is going to lead to changes in the types of cells that you can find on pap smear from the lip of the cervix, from the cervical canal. So if you've got persistent HPV, remember it takes months for that to turn into some significant dysplasia, as we call it, or cervical intraepithelial neoplasia. Sorry, cervical intraepithelial neoplasia. It's a mouthful for me. And then it takes years to decades for SIN to develop into cervical cancer. So there's plenty you can do in the meantime. And Immune Intel is a mainstay of the therapy that I'm providing people who are reaching out to me about HPV. The owner of this company, Mimi Lindquist, is also co-creating a program with me similar to the Born Free method called Clear and Free. It's going to be your ultimate guide to clearing HPV and living really your best life. This is about dialing in your lifestyle. It always comes back to that for me. What can you do in the meantime while you're waiting for those biopsies, for the LEAP procedures, for the follow-up repeat HPV or pap tests, those types of things, pap screen, excuse me. There's plenty. And in that program, we go into all of that. But Immune Intel HCC, I'm so glad I found them because this product, we have in vivo, in-person research demonstrating that the impacts it has on your immune system. And you couple that with their Mushy Love coffee additive. You couple that with a healthy exercise program like what we're going to be talking about with Dr. Mike today. You couple that with healthy sleep or adequate sleep and sleep hygiene and stress management and all that, and you will go back to a negative pap test, a negative HPV screen. Like this is like legitimate stuff here. So if you want to try out Immune Intel, maybe somebody in your life is dealing with this. I don't have HPV, nor does my wife, but I take I take a bottle of this every 3 or 4 months, so about 3 times per year, just because I know it's so beneficial to my immune system and how all of those little systems are interplaying with one another. If you want to try it out, go to themedicine.com. That's medicine without the e.com/products. You can use code beloved10 and you'll get 10% off your purchase. This episode is also brought to you by BirthFit. BirthFit is a brand that does something very unique and very important in the world. So if you were to go to your gym, we're going to be talking about exercise, right? I've even told you about James Clapp book, Exercising Through Your Pregnancy. Get those resources. You're in the Born Free method. Come and join the community. Like we're going to be talking about all of this stuff in depth. But then you have to actually apply it. And if you go to any routine gym, you're going to find that they don't have any trainers there that are like specifically dialed in to a training program, a regimen for by trimester while you're pregnant or in the postpartum period. They're not going to know. They're just going to like say, you better take it easy or something. Well, Lindsay Kintu and her team at BirthFit say, nonsense, poopy pants. I've done their coaching certification. Their coaches, the BirthFit professionals, are the real deal. And they've got a number of courses, including their postpartum basics program. They've got their B community where you can join other men and women, or actually, I guess it's really a women by women for women. So you're going to meet other women there who are also pregnant going through this. They want your insights. You want their insights. You now have a community. We're no longer isolated, as COVID taught us was such a shitty time to not have friends and colleagues to help guide you and help you sort of navigate these waters. So if you go to birthfit.com, use code beloved, and you'll save either 20% on their postpartum basics program, or you can get 1 month free in their B community, or heck, get both. And then I should also add that they are offering $400 off their upcoming fall cohorts for the BirthFit coaching program. It's a certification program. And if you have any interest in guiding women through pregnancy, or even really preconception all the way through postpartum, and you want some insights as to how to actually guide them, what's safe, what's not safe, or maybe you yourself are just interested in this because you're going to have babies in the future, join their cohort. Beloved 400 at birthfit.com will get you $400 off, and you're not going to regret it. There is not a program like this out there. It is unbelievable what Lindsay and her team have put together at BirthFit. Organifi is also a sponsor of the show, and I have zero qualms, supporting these types of companies, because what we've got here is I've got a full day's worth of nutritional support for my already busy cycle or schedule. And yeah, I do a lot of exercise, and yeah, I take some supplements, and I eat organ meats, and I eat oysters, and I try to minimize any dairy, gluten, alcohol, processed food, processed sugar, anything from my diet. And still, sometimes I need a little extra help, right? So on top of an already healthy lifestyle, Organifi's put together a 3-step process for you to additionally augment your day, whether you're traveling, whether you're at home, whether you're at the gym. They've got something for you. So I start my days off with my coffee, as I mentioned, but then I do a little detoxification, and I get a little boost from from the Organifi green juice, which has a bunch of green ingredients. You're going to get a bunch of phytonutrients. You're going to be getting some prebiotic fibers in order to support your gut. Really, I see this as like the detox phase of my day, like whatever accumulated from all that recovery, all that the anabolic activity that was happening. My cells, my mitochondria were going wild last night. I want to flush this system out. So I'll put a scoop of the green juice into my coffee. There's a little ashwagandha in there as well, not into my coffee, into a shaker. And then I add some LMNT or elements, I don't know how you say it, little electrolyte powder mixes into my drink mix, shake it up. And then this is my pre-workout. In the afternoon, I want a natural little boost of go-go juice, but I don't want to drink any more caffeine. So I mix up some red juice in a shaker. The red juice has beets, berries, all sort of adaptogens in it. There is, it's hard for me to even tell you what's in this. I mean, cordyceps. So you're getting reishi. You're getting so many non-GMO, fully organic, gluten-free, dairy-free, glyphosate-free ingredients mixed into one little packet of Organifi's red juice. And then at the end of the night, more functional mushrooms with some turmeric and lemon balm to have a nice, easy breezy, restful night, nice evening, nice nightcap from the gold latte. I mix that with full-fat organic coconut milk. This 3-step process is known as their sunrise to sunset kit. And if you go to organifi.com /beloved or use code beloved, you'll save 20%. And for a limited time, they're also going to throw in 30 servings of their pure blend, which helps with mental clarity, cognition, focus. All of these I recommend before, during, and after pregnancy. If you're a new dad, this is the way to get those extra nutrients in when you don't seem to have any time to take care of yourself. This is a part of the program, guys. You got your abbreviated workout with maximum benefits through the B3 bands. Again, that's riley.b3sciences.com. You've got your morning coffee with Mushy Love, also made by by the same company that makes Immune Intel. And then you've got your 3-step sunrise to sunset kit from Organifi. Add some of their pure blend in the afternoon, and bam, no excuses anymore, guys. No excuses. Bioptimizers is another company that I lean on heavily. Sorry, I had to get a little sip there to wet my whistle for this one. So I've got a lot of people coming to me and they're like, what does the functional medicine approach to fertility look like? Well, let's start with a Dutch test. Let's do a GI stool analysis. This is the GI effects test that I like from Genova. I've done them all myself, and that one came, I think gave me the most clarity around what I can do to fix myself. But what I found is on my stool test, as well as many of my clients, you're not absorbing all of the nutrients from all of these beautiful products, right? You may invest $500 a week on the best beef, the best vegetables, the best fruits, whatever floats your boat. But if you're not breaking them down and absorbing them, you're going to end up with a nutrient deficiency. And we're talking about all the micronutrients, the stuff that you find in Organifi's products, or in oysters, or in organ meats, or bone broth, or your beautiful eggs, or that beautiful fish oil you spent so much money on. If you're not digesting it, you're not absorbing it. And if you're not absorbing it, you can't utilize it. So I get everybody on HCL Breakthrough and Masszymes. I take these every single day, every single meal myself, especially if it's a high protein or high fat meal. Masszymes is a beautiful blend of digestive enzymes. It is the best replacement for somebody who has pancreatic insufficiency. Like, you're not making enough pancreatic enzymes. This goes to work in the intestines. HCL Breakthrough gets started in the stomach. Adding some extra acid to your stomach can help get this digestive process going at a rapid rate before your food even arrives into the intestines. So take 4 to 5 capsules of Masszymes with every meal, 1 to 2 capsules of HCl breakthrough, and you're going to see a huge difference. You're going to see that you're absorbing more iron, your anemia resolves, your ferritin resolves, all of your bone mineral density is going to improve. This is especially relevant if you've been on birth control for years. You've got a totally disordered gut, I promise you, because birth control is poison for your intestines. So get your gut in order, get your nutrients in order. Stop wasting money on expensive foods if you can't digest and absorb them. Start taking Masszymes, start taking HCl breakthrough. And if you go to Bioptimizers, they've got a deal on this. They make both of these products as well as the best magnesium on the market. Go to bioptimizers.com/holisticobgyn or just use code BELOVED and you'll get 10% off your purchase. And then last but not least, Rosemary Marin is a lovely human. She is the owner and operator of Soul Connections. She uses transpersonal and interpersonal hypnotherapy to help mothers connect to the spirits of their unborn babies. And the way she does this is sort of beyond me, but people that have worked with her have sent me back raving reviews. You can go to Soul Connections and you can book one-on-one consults with her. You can see her virtually or in person. And she draws from a variety of clinical backgrounds. She's also a doula, so she understands this. And this is for anybody who's had recurrent miscarriages, struggling with fertility. Maybe you're just pregnant, you're happily pregnant, but you want to connect to the soul of your baby more deeply before they arrive earthside. Or maybe you had a baby die at the end of a pregnancy or early in life, heaven forbid. How can we connect to the spirit of that baby to not let that tether be shorn without us having some closure? If you want to check out Rosemary's work, go to rosemarymarin.com, MERAN.com, and you will definitely not regret it. There is so much to this pregnancy thing that has nothing to do with just the physical, the ultrasounds, the blood work. There's a deeply mental, emotional, and certainly spiritual component to this. So if you're interested in diving deeper, go to rosemarymarin.com, connect with her, and let me know how it goes. All right, I've babbled on enough here this morning. It is with my great pleasure that Dr. Mike DeBord came on the podcast. If you want to go deeper into the sports performance side of this conversation, go find his interview on Kyle Kingsbury's podcast, the man who brought me into this blood flow restriction space. We're going to get into how we can use this before and after a knee replacement. As we're aging, how can we maximize the benefits of exercise on limited time? This is going to be for the parents. This is going to be for the fertility, people struggling with fertility. This is going to be for you if you're pregnant or your partner is pregnant. You don't want to miss this one, guys. Again, if you haven't seen, if you're interested in watching the interviews, go to YouTube. We've got a YouTube channel there. We'll put all of the links to that in the show notes. And otherwise, just enjoy your morning commute with your mushy love coffee and my conversation here with Mike DeBord. All right, welcome back to the podcast, everybody. I've got Dr. Mike DeBord, and I'm holding in my hands this little nifty backpack, which has a couple inflatable arm and leg straps with individual little bladders. And there's this weird blood pressure looking bulb thing with a dial on it. I whipped these out at the gym, and people probably think I even walked by my wife at the gym today, Mike, and I had the bands on my, like, where these things go, guys, is at the top of your thighs, like right next to your groins, basically. And then at the top of your arms, right below the axilla. If you guys are watching, we're on YouTube, so go subscribe there, and you can see Dr. Mike wearing them right now. I was walking around like I was like this like cyborg in the gym, just to, because my wife thinks it's funny. But man, I was like, my shirts are fitting differently. I've started doing some blood flow restriction workouts, and thankfully, you've got a company here that makes this really elegant system that Kyle Kingsbury, another mutual friend of ours, he introduced this to me when I was at his house, because I had just had a whole bunch of tattoo work done and I couldn't really do a lot of working out. So he was like, dude, throw these straps on and let's do a little body weight workout. And I was smoked, like within 10 minutes of these just push-ups and things. I could do push-ups all day. I'm 160 pounds, 5'10". I am a fire breather. I can do them all day. And after 2 sets, I was like, I have never felt that type of burn. So Mike DeBord, welcome to the podcast. We're going to talk about blood flow restriction, the importance of exercise, how busy people can fit this in, and why it's actually important, whether you are 25 or 85, to continue to work out without necessarily needing to hit that like CrossFit. I feel like I'm tasting blood kind of intensity in the gym 2 to 3 hours a day. So welcome. Hopefully that's a decent intro, but anything that came up for you there while I was chatting?
Been there. Been there and don't want to go back, right? Been there at 52, 3 joints replaced, tired, can't get my six-pack back, don't have time, it hurts,
Yeah.
not enough ibuprofen in the world to take the swelling away. Been there 7 years ago, can't imagine going back, and we're going to show people today how to get there.
Yeah, amen to that. I love that. So I pride myself on being one of the few doctors that actually practices what he preaches. I eat well, I move well. I try to sleep at least 8 to 9 hours a day, which is hard with little kids, but we really prioritize everything around it. Exercise has remained kind of a sticky point for me because I don't even have the time to spend those 2 to 3 hour, marathon sessions in the gym, let alone 16 hours a week of training when I used to do Ironman distance triathlon. And um, what I'm realizing now is that through some basic sort of fine tuning of how I'm exercising and maybe using some blood flow restriction, which we'll talk about what that means, I can get the benefit of probably a 2 to 3 hour workout in about, I'm not kidding you guys, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes is all that it really requires. And I don't even have to be using heavy weights. So forget the barbell rack in my garage. I've got a couple kettlebells and dumbbells, and I've got these straps. So let's start. Well, first off, Dr. Mike DeBord, what is your specialty? You started off in chiropractics, correct?
Yeah, sports chiropractor. Fast forward, 52 years old, buddy of mine, Dr. Jim Stray-Gunderson, trains top Olympic team trainer, calls me from Japan. Mike, you ever heard of blood flow restriction? I said, no. And I'm thinking, he's calling me from Japan where he's training Olympic athletes. Man, he says, we figured out what the Japanese were doing. We thought they were cheating. We thought they were doping. We caught them in a tent. They had these straps on their arms. And I met this founder of this, Dr. Sato, this doctor that stumbled upon it 40 years ago. It took him 30 years to figure out what he stumbled upon. Brought it to the United States, and we're going to talk about it, but I was introduced to it at 52 years old. Just complete paradigm shift. I mean, we're going to give you a paradigm shift today where you're going to go, whoa. I mean, you're just not going to exercise the same way again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do jujitsu. I've mentioned I've played like every individual sport. I was never a team sport guy, but I did martial arts for a while. I was into rock climbing for years, very, very high level rock climbing, Ironman distance triathlon, so all of these things were in my wheelhouse, but it was such a time investment that now that I'm a young dad, like it just didn't make sense for me to be spending that time. But I'm actually feeling right now, I've been doing it for about a month now using your bands. I feel like inspired. Like I don't usually, I told my wife, I'm not really into these like tips and tricks for shortcuts or whatever, but this is a game changer. So let's first talk about, first and foremost, for those out there that are like exercise baloney or whatever, what are the benefits of exercise? Let's just start there. You're a sports chiropractor. You're a physically fit, aging man yourself. Why is this? Why do you even care?
Well, Harvard tells us, U.S. Department of Health tells us, everybody tells us, the book Younger Next Year. You need vigorous aerobic exercise, not just to walk. You need to create a drop in oxygen in your aerobic muscles, right? You don't just need to walk the track. You need to go run the stadium stairs, right? You don't just need to get on the elliptical. You need to climb, because when you do that, you stimulate a very robust adaptive response in your cardiovascular system. Then you need to strength train, because when you strength train, you maintain muscle. And you're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years, muscle's the whole key to health. It's literally the secret they're figuring out. We were on a call last night. You lose your muscle, you're going to lose your brain. So these two things, and here's what people think, oh, I can just go to the gym and get on the treadmill for 30 minutes. Hey, when's the last time somebody said, hey, I joined Planet Fitness, I'm on the treadmill for 30 minutes, I listened to my playlist, got my six-pack, got my guns back, I feel, nobody ever says that, right?
Yeah.
right? You got
Yeah.
to get the burn. We're going to talk about, you got to feel the burn in
Yeah.
exercise if you want to adapt. So this isn't optional. This is just like good diet and sleep. If you don't do it your entire life, treat the body the way it's designed, you're going to pay a price. It's going to be an unfortunate price that you're going to start
Yeah.
paying in your 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah, absolutely. And my father passed away from something called multiple myeloma years ago when I was in medical school. But my mom is surviving him now, and she's married to a beautiful man, and they play pickleball every single day, and they are riddled with injuries. It's like over and over
Yeah.
and over. And the reason is because they're like, we don't really get that feeling of like we worked out until we've played
No.
an hour and a half of pickleball. Well, in the meantime, they've probably got flexibility issues and mobility issues. But all of that aside, if you're doing exercise to get the benefits to your bone, to let's say mitigate the tendency towards sarcopenia, which is a loss of muscle mass as you get older.
Hmm. Yeah.
Your brain inflammation. We're going to talk about BDNF, brain derived neurotropic factor, your cardiovascular health, everything seems to improve when you can exercise to a relatively high intensity. But like we've said, that is something that it comes at a cost. It actually comes at a cost to a higher risk of injury when you're pushing and pushing and lifting heavy and heavy and heavy. For my
Hmm.
mother, I wouldn't expect her to go to the gym and start bench pressing and squatting
Yeah.
and deadlifting. But what if, like, I just heard what's his name, Mercola. He was just describing on a podcast around BFR that he puts them on his legs and just walks down the beach, and he's getting
Yeah.
more of an exercise from that on less
Hmm.
time, and he's getting
Yeah.
all of these other benefits he never saw in the gym. So there is I think there's quite a bit for us to unpack here. So let's first start with, I've got the straps on my just below the axilla, just below the armpit on my humerus up here on either
Hmm.
side. I pump them
Hmm.
up. By the way, I pump mine up about 50 points above what's recommended because that's where I'm
Hmm.
really feeling my sweet spot. So maybe
Yeah.
you can describe why that might be for one person versus another. But then you also have straps on your thighs, right at the
Hmm.
very, very top. And I was lifting and I was walking around like I was like one of those big mechanical monsters from like Avatar or something like that. And my wife is laughing. She's on the treadmill in the back, and my arms are just like popping out. So
Yeah.
obviously what we're doing here is we're occluding venous return from the muscles predominantly. And I'd love for you to get into the science there, but you're not just getting a local effect to the muscles you're working. In other words, I'm not just getting a benefit from doing bicep curls while I have the bands on. There is a neurohumeral response that is benefiting my entire body, meaning if I've got an injury in one part of my body and I can't work that joint out, I may actually be benefiting or expediting recovery due to this full systemic response, which is why I'm so compelled, because I think we can talk about applications with postpartum recovery and everything later. But let's talk about what's actually happening here when we
Okay.
occlude blood flow, and then let's get
Okay.
into some of these more neurohumoral responses that are so beneficial.
So if you're watching, great, you can see the bands on me. If you're just listening, so we've got these bands. It's gonna kind of look like a wristband. It's got an air chamber in it. You slide it up your arm. I'm showing people online how easy this is. Slide it up, pop down the Velcro. Okay, 5 seconds, get it on. Now I got a little pump. Watch this. It's gonna hook up the pump, snap it on, pump it up to the number on the band. There's the number on the band right there. Look at that. I got 20 seconds. I'm in now. What are we doing? We're slowing down exiting blood flow. Now, here's the first thing. It's not a blood pressure cuff, everyone. It's not going to cut off blood flow.
Not a tourniquet. We're not
It's not a
tourniqueting
tourniquet.
anything.
Right. We're our bands, because of the design, and ours are the only ones with safety studies and patented, we're modifying the outflow of blood. Now, why would you want to slow down blood flow? That should be your first question. Well, blood is carrying the primary fuel for your muscles, oxygen. Okay. So when you walk, let's talk about walking. You're using oxygen at about a rate of a 5 or a 6, but it's flowing at a 10. Hence, you can walk forever. There's always more oxygen in the muscle than you're using. But what if you go run the stadium stairs? Now you're using oxygen in 11, right? The oxygen is flowing at a 10, but you're using an 11. You're using more oxygen than is available, and you very quickly feel the burn. Now, you all know what's going to happen if you run the stadium stairs. You're going to get chiseled. You're going to change. Why? Because you're creating fatigue or the burn. But that's hard. So we all have this challenge of going and doing this high intensity exercise. It's long, it's hard, it hurts, right? But the bottom line is if you don't create the burn, everyone, you're not going to see a change. So let's back up. Let's go back to the bands. Now the bands are on. We've lowered the flow of oxygen. Let's call it from a 10 to a 5. Now you're walking. You're on the treadmill. You're doing something super light. You're using oxygen to the 6, which would have never in a million years created any burn, created any fatigue. But your legs are on fire. Why? Because we cut the oxygen in half. Remember how everybody remembers seeing the people with the altitude masks on the bike and the treadmill and training. Why? Because when you reduce oxygen in your heart and lungs, that's a good thing. It causes adaptation. What if we just put the oxygen mask right on the muscle? Now you understand BFR. So now here you are. You've immediately created this significant advantage. Call it a biohack, call it whatever you want. You just put yourself in a significant biomechanical advantage because now you can do something light. Go for a walk, bike, elliptical, treadmill, row. And in 3 to 4 minutes, you're going to feel like you got an hour-long workout. You can go in the gym and you can lift lighter weights, half the weight or a third of the weight. And you're going to be in your first set and your arms are going to start burning like you're curling. You're doing 5 times the amount of weight. But then, because you're at such an advantage, you're able to fatigue your muscles deeper than you could without anything else. That's number 2. So number 1, dramatically less work, less time. It's going to be quick, going to be. Number 2, you're going to hit a fatigue that is not possible without the bands. Don't care who you are. We got them at the Olympic level. We got them in senior citizen centers. We got them in 5-year-old gymnasts. We've got them in 30,000 everyday people. Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Lakers are using our bands. You're going to hit fatigue. Oh, yeah. Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James. You know, if we got a second, I'll pull LeBron up on my phone. He wears the bands.
Wow.
You're going to hit a fatigue in 5, 10, 15 minutes that is not possible any other way. You're not going to be sore or hurt, probably maybe once, but you're not going to hurt or be sore. You're not going to walk out of the gym like somebody just beat you up. You're going to walk out with all kinds of energy and you're going to get all pumped up and you're going to change. Number 3, you're hitting a fatigue that turns on adaptation. This is the big one you're going to want to understand. Why is Nathan so excited? Because you're going to turn on cardiovascular health, brain health, immune system, bone density, more flexible tendons, rapid injury recovery, because you're going to stimulate nitric oxide and growth hormone. So, I mean, this isn't like a little change. This is like a massive shift that we figured out in human performance. And 3 to 4 or 5 years from now, everybody's going to be doing it's already happening at the Olympic level. So in short, we're slowing down exiting blood flow so that the muscle has less oxygen so you can do a fraction of the work and get a better fatigue in your muscle.
I think it bears repeating that while I do have, I'm very happy with my physique, but I'm not really competing at all. However, I have recently started doing jujitsu and I was a little bit worried about my rotator cuff. I had an injury about a year ago, Dr. Mike. And when I was at the Kingsbury's house, Kyle said, throw these bands on. And I ended up doing a couple, maybe 3 workouts per week while I was in Austin during that time. And I had Mike Salemi help me, Chris Crawford, some of these really advanced practitioners in Soma therapy and Eldoa, and my shoulder was feeling better, but I had 0 pain or any mobility issues whatsoever with my rotator cuff. And I wasn't even exercising. I was exercising, but I wasn't like doing I wasn't doing like physical therapy type movements. I was actually just doing body weight. And it struck me that this full body response is actually really where it's at. It's not like going and getting your peptides injected every week, right? This is actually your body using its own feedback system in order to adapt to a response that didn't require you to, go through 18 bottles of water over a 3-hour just marathon horrible experience in the gym, which I currently just don't have the patience for that. So So we've got brain-derived neurotropic factor. We have benefits to cardiovascular health. We get this growth hormone from the pituitary gland that's going to stimulate insulin-like growth factor. You're probably going to see a change in insulin sensitivity with time. You're going to have improved digestion with exercise, improved lymph flow. I suspect men might see a change to their free testosterone. Maybe you can comment on that. Your bone mineral density goes up. So all of those things are really helpful. What is the duration of a workout? Like maybe you can walk us through what you do for your own sort of just, keeping up with the Joneses, duration, frequency, and intensity in order to maximize the benefits here.
Well, I'd say 50% of our people do a 3-minute arms workout on day one and a 4-minute legs the next day. Now, that's the non-exercise people. It's literally all you need. The exercise people like me and you, Nathan, I'm 12, 15 minutes. I get in, I get the burn. But what are we doing? What Nathan talked about pain. Here's what people probably don't know. As you age, you lose good blood flow into your joints and tissues everywhere. Why? Because your nitric oxide, you've all heard about it, beats, those levels slow down with age. They slow down with stress. So now you're losing this good deep blood flow. How do I know that? You put a heat pack on your knee. What happens? It feels better. It stimulates blood flow. What if you could walk around with a heat pack on every one of your joints and they would never hurt? So this lack of good blood flow and oxygen, or what we call ischemia, is a real problem. So all of a sudden now you got a pain, you got something going on, and you can't go get nitric oxide, right? Because you got to exercise super hard. But the super hard exercise will make the pain worse. So you're kind of in this catch-22. So now we put the bands on. Remember what it does? It reduces oxygen. So the first thing that happens is we're working aerobically. Everybody's heard aerobic, using aerobic with oxygen, slow twitch muscles, and the oxygen drops real fast. The body immediately releases all this nitric oxide that's sitting right in your blood vessels. Why would it do that? It thins the blood, because thin blood gets there quicker. The body's trying to bring the oxygen back up to help you. But if the body thins the blood and opens up all the blood vessels to your muscle, it also does it to your shoulder and your brain and your heart and your uterus and your prostate. So now all of a sudden, you've created dramatically better blood flow. And let me tell you what happens. You feel better. You feel 20 years younger. Things stop hurting. Things start functioning better. Your brain turns on. Blood pressure comes down. This is all proven stuff. The problem is most people can't get any nitric oxide. You're not going to take your beats and do this. You can take some beats and temporarily get a little thinning of the blood, but you're not going to get what endothelial nitric oxide does. So now, why does everybody feel so much better afterward instead of feeling beat up? You got all this blood flow going everywhere. Now healing can occur. Now, remember what happens. We drop the oxygen. Then you start feeling the burn. When you feel the burn, everyone, you've gone anaerobic. You've gone over and you've recruited the fast twitch muscle fibers, which are pretty hard to recruit unless you're lifting heavy weights. So now you're on the treadmill. You're doing a 3-minute workout. You're doing something fun, light, even playing pickleball in them. And you start to feel the burn. You've already created the aerobic response. You drop the oxygen. You got the nitric oxide. Now you're over in the burn. You're producing lactic acid, and that triggers post-exercise growth hormone. Now you get this cascade of incredible hormones. Growth hormone, IGF-1, bone-specific alkaline phosphatase, thyroid-stimulating hormone, brain-derived nootropic factor. You get this cocktail of anabolic hormones that are just like rocket fuel. And if you've never experienced it, I mean, it's a game changer. You're gonna feel 20, 30 years younger. So Nathan, all of a sudden, he's like, man, I'm flexible. My shoulder doesn't hurt. I'm all pumped up. It's like somebody's shooting him. Yeah, it's like somebody's shooting him with hormones all day, but it's sitting right in your own human body. This is what's crazy. And here's what we do, though. We know this is there. So then what do? We go in the gym and we beat ourselves up trying to get it. And we create the opposite effect. We go and we overtrain and we create cortisol. And everyone, if you are 35, 40 and you're training like that, You're going to know it because you're going to be tired. You're going to be sore. You're going to hurt. You're not going to see changes. You're flipping over from this adaptative response of nitric oxide and all these hormones into stress and cortisol. And your body will basically just freeze. It won't do anything. Matter of fact, it'll start
Right.
catabolizing muscle, and your joints will break down, and you'll be in pain. And that's where so many people are. And I was there, 52 years old, can't lift heavy weights anymore, not enough ibuprofen. I already replaced 3 joints, losing my 6-pack. I mean, thought my manhood was over. Just it's horrible, right? You're out of the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've mentioned cortisol a couple of times here. Let's go a little deeper into that. Variety of people in my life, people listening to this podcast, perhaps. I kind of see my podcast and Kyle Kingsbury's podcast as like companions, because his demographic is very much more looking to optimize, let's say human performance. I think a lot of people who listen to my show are just trying to keep their head above water. So
Yeah.
when I say, hey, let's do this new workout, or jujitsu is good for you, whatnot, people are like, yeah, right, man. Like, I barely have time to cook dinner, let alone do whatever. So, so many of these individuals, including many of the birth workers who are listening, guys, here it is right here. If you're watching, it's this little backpack. I can carry it anywhere in the world. In fact, this is going to be my Christmas gift, hopefully, for a lot of my friends and family, because you'll never need to actually even go to a gym again. And I want to bring in cortisol here, because a lot of people in birth work, medical professions, I mean, doctors are some of the most unhealthy people I've ever met. They've got some degree of dysfunction within their HPA axis. For those who don't know, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the adrenals, and probably their gonadal function as well. So they're already in a state of what some people call adrenal fatigue. I'm not so sure I've settled on that term, but regardless, they are actually just eking out enough cortisol as they can, their adrenals can, and the metabolism's slow because they're just holding on for dear life. When a person is in this sort of chronic stress state, I used to tell them before I found these bands, although I'd love for your insights here, that going to the gym and busting out that 60-minute workout is the last thing I want you to do. In fact, I want you to stop exercising because you're putting more stress on your system. Can they expect something different? Would this be a good replacement for them if they're already in some degree of HPA dysfunction?
Oh, absolutely. So somewhere along the line, we got stuck in this 30 to 45 minute of aerobic exercise.
That's
You only
Harvard.
need,
Thanks, Harvard.
yeah, you only need to create. Here's what people are going to be saying in 3 to 5 years, and people might think I'm crazy. We're going to stop measuring 80% of elevated heart rate in the zone. That's all going to go away. You know how I know? Because everybody's got the Fitbits, right? And they go,
Right.
woohoo, 1,000 steps. And they jump on the scale and they go, just ignore the scale. Woohoo, 1,000 steps. No, it's about, can you create a fatigue in your muscles? And can you create it in an efficient way that doesn't stress you? Here's how you win the game. Create a fatigue aerobically and anaerobically with the least amount of stress to turn on these anabolic adaptative
Right.
systems. That's how
That's
you
key.
win the game.
Just
Get
amounts, just enough stress to get that
right.
hormetic adaptive response. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
Right.
keep going.
So, for example, you're going to put these bands on, and in 30 seconds on the treadmill or doing aerobic, you're going to feel the burn. You're going to be on the treadmill for 30 minutes and you're not going to feel the burn the other way. And at some point,
Right.
probably at about 5, 10, 15 minutes, your body's going to go, dude, you're stressing me. You're pounding my
Yeah.
joints. I'm tired. You're going to get cortisol. You're going to be, and it's not going to work. When really all your body wants you to do is go create the fatigue. Hey, go get me some of the nitric oxide. It's sitting right in your body. You just got to go get it. So you put the bands on, you get on the treadmill, you go for a walk, you do our 4-minute legs, row, bike, vibration plate, put them on for pickleball in the first 5 minutes, right? And you're 30 seconds in and you feel the burn. Now what do? You just step on the gas. Just don't back
Yeah.
off. It's okay. It's just a little
Yeah.
lactic
Yeah.
acid. Just continue for 2 or 3 minutes and you're done with your aerobic exercise. And you're going to step off and take the bands off. And it's going to be like somebody hit you with rocket fuel, because you're going to get nitric oxide and your body's not going to be in stress. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
going to be easy. You can do this at work. Put them on. You're a worker, right? We've talked about the people that you help, Nathan. Hey, go down 4 flights of stairs, put the bands on, walk up 4, and watch what happens. You're going to get the burn. You're going to turn on nitric oxide, and for the next 4 or 5 hours, you're going to think somebody hit you with 10 shots of coffee. This adaptive response in your body. Now, when you go strength train, right? 8 to 10 minutes is all you need. You're going to put the bands on. You're going to do something light. You're going to be in the first set. You're going to feel a little burn. Keep going. Go 2, 3 sets. You're going to feel this pump on your muscles like you're lifting heavy. And you're going to be done with 4 or 5 muscle groups in 8 to 10 minutes. And you're done. Now, what did you do? You eliminated all this waste of time. If you're not in the burn, I got news for you. You're wasting time and you're stressing. If you're
Mm.
not in the burn, you're wasting time and you're stressing your body. So this 8 to 10 to 12 minutes, you're going to be, the majority of it, you're going to feel this light lactic acid, and you're going to turn on the body's adaptive system. And instead of it going into stress, it's going to go what's called anabolic. I mean, I'm telling you, it's going to be like somebody hit you with rocket fuel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're going to eliminate all the pounding and stress. So what ends up happening is there's very little cortisol to block the nitric oxide and growth hormone, and you've done only a short amount of work. And man, you turn on all these adaptive systems, and everybody that does it is like, just blows their mind. First time you put the bands
Yeah.
on, remember, Nathan, it just blows your mind. You're a 100,
Totally.
150 push-up guy, right? You probably do 10 sets. You did 2, and you're like, what in the world? Your brain knows
Yeah.
what's happening. Your brain goes, oh, yeah, that's lactic acid. But your conscious mind's going, how in the world did we get here? Where'd this come from, right?
Mm. So how frequently, let's say a person is, attending, they're driving around doing, home visits, they're going to births, and I'm speaking mostly to my birth work community, doulas,
Yeah,
midwives, even the busy parents, who just can squeeze in a little bit of during nap time,
yeah.
maybe a little workout here and there. How frequently would you recommend somebody start? And what's like for somebody like me, what duration or not duration, but frequency during the week? How many days per week? We've
Right.
already kind of gotten into duration. Intensity is sort of a moot point here because you're actually getting the benefits of a low intensity workout through this neurohumoral response. But what if
Yeah.
I did this every single day? Is that a problem, or multiple times per day?
Well, people say, hey, Mike, how often do you work out? I say, only on the days I want nitric oxide and growth hormone. Right, only on those days. Well, that's every
All
day.
right. All
But
right. Yeah.
these things, nitric oxide and growth hormone, they're like 12 to 24, 28-hour boosts, and then they back down. So if I go more than a day without the bands, I feel 59. If I do them every day, I feel 25. I feel 30. But what does all the research tell us? Exercise every day, right?
Yeah.
Kids,
Yeah.
60 minutes a day, adult 30, 40 minutes a day. So if you do it correctly, and we're going to help you, it's easy. Find 3 to 4 minutes and do something. You got a little more time, go try one of our 10, 12, 15-minute workouts like Nathan does. And every day you get them on is a day you've got elevated nitric oxide, elevated growth hormone. And it's like you got elevated rocket fuel. And here's what's great about it. As soon as your body releases it, it makes more. It's literally ready for you to do it the next day. In your pituitary gland, you got growth hormone when you're 90, 80, 60, 50, 20. Problem is when we get
Yeah.
into our 20s, our natural release slows down, but it's still sitting there. So all you're doing by doing this exercise is you're going and getting what's already yours. Nitric oxide sitting right in the lining of your arteries. It's there your entire life. You're never going to run out of it. It's there every day for you to go access, right? It's like sleep. So, my easiest response is, are you going to eat and sleep tomorrow? Yeah. Well, then I'd put the bands on
Put the
and I
bands
would
on.
do
Yeah.
3, 5, 8, 10, 15 minutes.
What do you recommend for people? I mean, this might be some general sort of exercise advice, but what do you recommend people do in order to, well, let me first ask you this. Let's say, I just said I feel like my t-shirts are fitting more tightly, etc.
Hmm.
Is there a way to use these bands to sort of prioritize hypertrophy, meaning bigger muscles
Oh, yeah.
versus losing fat versus getting, better aerobic endurance
Sure.
versus getting stronger? Like, how would you modify how people are using these bands?
Well, here's what is unbelievably simple. Don't change the exercise. If you want to get the aerobic benefit, go get on your vibration plate or your bike. You're only going to need 3 to 4 minutes, right? If you want to get some strength training hypertrophy benefits, go do the moves: biceps, triceps, chest, back, shoulders, quads, hams, calves. Go do the basic moves that you like to do, and you're going to see hypertrophy. Now, you really want to dive in and get specific, we'll provide you coaching. We'll get specific with you, right? We have things like starters, finishers, alternating days. Now, I don't recommend that for the general population because you're not a professional bodybuilder. But look, I got pro
Right.
bodybuilders, I
Right.
got Olympic athletes. We can customize it. But now we got people who have physical limitations. I got people in wheelchairs. We got programs for them. So we're going to encourage you to do something first and foremost you like to do. Nathan likes to work out the way he likes to work out. He's going to keep doing it in 30 days. If I give you something rigid, you're not even going to make it 30 days. We're going to be done. So
Right.
we're going to give you all kinds. So your parents who play pickleball, here's what we teach them: put the bands on, get in the kitchen, and get in a squat and dink back and forth for 5 minutes, and you will turn all of this on. In the first 5 minutes, take them off, drink a little water, and then go pay your 2 or 3 hours.
Play some
You'll be a
pickleball. Yeah.
you'll be a completely different person. We got a
Wow.
pickleball speed workout. Hey, you want to go from a 3.5 to a 4.0, 4.5 to a 5.0? You want to blow your friends away? We got a 6 to 8 minute pickleball workout. You put the bands on, you go on the pickleball court. We're going to take you through some little speed drills around the lines once or twice a week. Watch what happens. Golfers, we have a golf program. Now let's switch over people who are workers, right? You're in you're in your nursing, your fatigues at work or your uniform. Put the bands on. We got a little 4 minute leg workout. You can do it right in front of your desk. We're going to send you
Yeah.
tubing. Get up from your desk, get the tubing out, pump up some triceps, biceps, and some shoulders right where you work. Steps. You got steps? Don't take the elevator. Carry your backpack
Never.
on your shoulder before work. Put the bands on, hit 5, 6 flights of steps. You will have a completely different morning. You'll turn on nitric oxide. So this, as Nathan was saying, is all you need. This is just, you are going to implement this in the life you already have without interrupting it. If you're a workout person, get ready for triple results. If you're not, you're just going to implement it somewhere during the day, and you're going to turn on all these responses in the body that are just game changers.
A lot of people were still concerned with just losing weight. How would you modify my workout if I was interested in dropping 20 pounds? Not necessarily caring about having bigger muscles, but, and you've probably already
Mhm.
gotten into this, but just to be super clear with people, instead of that hour-long journey on the treadmill and doing some kind of, glute bridges or whatever, what should, a person do? Typically what I'm doing is 30 reps on, 30 seconds off, 30 reps
Mhm.
on, 30 seconds off. After 3 sets of 30 reps, which is a lot of reps, guys,
Right.
then there's a minute rest, and then I do the next movement. What about if somebody just wants to try this for weight loss? What would you tell them? You just meet them on the street corner, and here's
Right.
your sort of off the cuff advice. Hey guys, a quick interruption here from this amazing interview. I hope you're enjoying the show. Wanted to tell you very, very briefly about the Born Free Method, which is a program created by Sarah Rosser and I. She and I have become so busy over the past couple of years that we have determined we're not able to take every single client that comes our way. So what we decided to do is let's create a group coaching program whereby any couple that has even a glimmer in their eye of wanting to start a family, or maybe they're actively pregnant, or maybe they're postpartum, or you're a birth worker looking to serve other clients and you want to know all of the evidence around interventions, all of the lifestyle modifications that can help to optimize autonomy in childbirth, helping people through counseling around where to have a baby, who's going to attend your birth planning, radical responsibility, bioethics and informed consents, even topics that others shy away from: COVID, vaccines, ultrasound, everything under the sun that we've ever been asked. We put it together into a self-guided online training program.
It starts with 12 months of weekly calls. And while you're going through the content, you can come to the calls with any questions, share your insights in our private community, meet other people. Don't be siloed off. Don't isolate yourself. Embrace community. This is what we're sorely lacking in this world. Sarah and I take an equally balanced approach between the data and the spiritual nature of this transformative period that is childbirth. We focus on the moms and the dads, the whole family unit. We talk about care for the newborn. We talk about psychedelics and cannabis use. There is a whole unit just for the dads. There is so much just in the online course, but then again, you're also getting 12 months of weekly calls where we bring guest speakers. We do some didactics. There's plenty of opportunity for Q&A, so you can get all of your questions answered either by us or one of the many people who've been there and who are on this journey with you in the program. If you want to find out more and learn from Sarah and I, bring us into your care team, go to bornfreemethod.com. Would be happy to see you on an enrollment call. We'll get you booked that day. And we can answer any questions that you have as well. So find us at bornfreemethod.com. I don't want you to miss out on the content, on the calls, on the guided meditations, on the exercises, on the checklist, on the 250 plus citations. Go to bornfreemethod.com. We'll see you there. All right, let's get back now to my conversation.
Well, first of all, I'd tell, hey, you need a 1-minute explanation of weight loss, right?
Yeah.
Weight loss is about maintaining an active thyroid, right? But you got to go get thyroid stimulating hormone after you're about 25 or 30. The thyroid doesn't work by itself. Whoa, nobody told you that. You have to exercise. If you don't exercise, the thyroid slows down, metabolism slows down, your body holds on to fat. If you do vigorous exercise, you'll turn on thyroid stimulating hormone. You'll burn an extra 500 to 800 calories at rest. You're on the couch, you're eating pizza. Shouldn't do that, but you're still burning an extra 500 to 800 calories. But what do most people do? They go do 30, 45, 50, 60 minutes of exercise. They get no burn and they literally shut their thyroid down. Your body doesn't go into fat burn. So now we're going to use the bands. We're going to find something fun to do for 4, 8, 10, 12 minutes. You're going to get the burn and your body is going to immediately go into fat burn because you're going to turn on thyroid stimulating hormone. You're going to burn, doesn't matter what you burned in the exercise, you're going to burn 600 to 800 more calories, mainly of fat, in the next 24 to 36 hours because you hit the fatigue that turns on fat burn. So everybody that measures themselves with a staiku or body fat, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm up. It's like Kyle said, dude, I am so ripped. I've never been this lean. I'm like, Kyle, you eliminated all the stress of the workout. So you're not getting cortisol. You got right into the burn. You turned on your thyroid and your growth hormone, and your metabolism is through the roof with no stress. Of course you're lean. Your body is burning up fat and it's protecting muscle. Most people do the opposite. They go stress themselves, overwork, and the body starts catabolizing muscle, and it holds on to fat for dear life because it thinks the end's coming because you're killing it. You're stressing yourself out so much, your body's like holding on to fat for dear life. And you've all experienced it, right? You get 40, 50, doesn't matter what you do. As soon as I put the bands on at 52, 60 days, my six-pack was back. I've been trying for 20 years to, get it. Too much stress, couldn't turn on fat burn, right? So weight loss is about creating a metabolism boost with efficient exercise that turns on thyroid, turns on fat burn, and obviously eat smart. But I'm telling you, you're going to see everybody that does this, like, man, my shirts are fitting different. I'm just dropping. It's like you, Nathan, right? You're all pumped up. The waist is getting lean. It's just like, it's like crazy. It's like somebody's pumping you full of metabolism drugs.
It kind of feels like what I imagine would be testosterone replacement therapy. Like it feels like I feel like a different person. Like I feel, my wife even said, like, you're like thick now, like not in a bad way. She was like, you're like solid right now. And it's only been 30 days. So this is really tripping me out. That's why I wanted to bring you on to talk about it. I also think it's important for people to bear in mind that, like, losing weight, like the reflection on metabolic dysfunction and obesity is not just like you're not exercising enough. There's a whole cascade of things that have to happen for, for you to put on 150 pounds. Insulin resistance being a big part of that, partly because of diet, poor sleep, HPA axis dysfunction, or whatever. But when you build muscle as a man and a woman, you're going to see an increase in your sensitivity to insulin due to the increase of GLUT receptors in the muscle. You're also, as a man, going to see, and as a woman, going to see a boost in your androgens and your response to testosterone. So there's quite a bit here that, even though we don't have the longitudinal studies yet, all of these surrogate biomarkers really do make sense in order for you to start getting your endocrine system back in order. And the whole body is a giant bag of hormone loops and all this other stuff. So, speaking of hormone fluctuations, there's two big groups of people I want to cover before we close this off. The first is a lot of my clients who are postpartum, they are new parents, so there's not a ton of time to work out. Given your experience with chiropractics and your understanding of some of this neurophysiology and the musculoskeletal system and whatnot, we'll talk about elderly people and maybe joint replacement in a second, because that's near and dear to me with my mother, something she's dealing with. But when a person has let's say they get a C-section, right? They also had gestational diabetes, maybe preeclampsia. They've got all this metabolic dysfunction going on. They want to exercise, but I think it is important to allow yourself an adequate period of lying in and recovery after that. But you also now have the lingering back pain from, a lordosis, from carrying a big bowling ball in your belly all this time. Maybe your hips are sore. Maybe you did have a vaginal birth, and some of that connective tissue isn't coming back together necessarily in the way you'd like, or you've got a delayed healing of your C-section wound. Help me understand how I might get a person to use blood flow restriction, or not how, because I think we've determined that basically if you're wearing the bands, you're going to get a benefit. But what would you say about the potential indications or applications of BFR for those people who are ready to start exercising again after they've given birth? Some of the benefits there.
Yeah, well, when your doctor or Nathan advises you it's okay to start exercising, it's very simple. Do you want to go with the traditional stressful exercise? Your body's already in stress. Or would we rather have these 3, 5, 6, 8-minute short sessions that don't create stress? You're healing, you're recovering. Obviously, we want the lower stress workout. So number one, even though these bands are creating a dramatically better response, they are dramatically less stressful because you're doing less with less load. So that's number one. Number two, do you want to turn on nitric oxide and growth hormone and all these healing regenerative hormones? Of course you do. It's exactly what a woman needs postpartum. She needs to get back to that vigorous person that she is with vigorous exercise without the stress. Well, the bands are going to do it. And every woman I've had do this, or like my second kid, I did this. It's like a third of the time I'm back in the game. Well, yeah, you're able to go get the adaptive response, the nitric oxide, the growth hormone, all these wonderful things that stimulate healing, get your energy back, get your metabolism back up, get you back to where you were. You're going and getting all that. So it's an absolute no-brainer. Cancer. Now they're saying not only post-cancer, but they're saying people should be doing BFR before they even go in for cancer. And there's even a study going on right now where they're doing the BFR during the cancer treatments. And they're saying we need to keep these systems in the body moving, this thyroid balance, this bone density balance, this growth. We need to keep these things alive while we're
sarcopenia is cachexia and cancer. Yeah.
So for women or postpartum, this is the perfect way to you to get back into, a good vigorous exercise program that's not going to stress you.
Yeah. I see so many applications for this, Mike. I am very, very excited. So there's a couple things, we mentioned cancer. One thing I just want to throw it out there in case somebody's thinking about this. When we think about growth hormone, we think about IGF and whatnot. There used to be some interest in the research community. There still is. I just kind of fell off my main highway. But is there any concern about pushing the body to grow? I know your answer, but let's just go through the exercise. Is there any potential issue with with pushing muscles and other cells to grow under all of these regenerative and sort of growth related hormone cascades, with cancer? Like, are we telling the body grow, 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 grow? And is there
No.
potentially some sort of law of diminishing returns that starts to eke in there?
Well, one thing I always tell people is, look, I've read all the BFR science, and I've also read what vigorous exercise does in the human body. There's not one study that says elevating growth hormone nitric oxide is bad for cancer. To the contrary. Now, the people that say, oh, you can't do that, they're talking about sticking synthetic growth hormone and synthetic testosterone in the body. You got to stay away
Right.
from that. That has side
Right.
effects. There is,
Right.
I haven't seen a single study where they say don't get growth hormone from exercise because it'll do this. There is no such thing. It's the master hormone, everyone. The
Right.
master
Right.
healing, regenerative, reparative, tell your body how to function, how young to be hormone. It's the master. Why? There's no reason to ever want to turn it off. No reason. Now, Nathan, if people are really, really stressed, hey, you may not be able to do BFR if you're just in a really tough spot. You might need some great medical help or holistic, whatever your doctor is. You might need to stick with them and get yourself out of this really tough spot you're in, and then start BFR. I can see. But as far as, is there any contraindications to BFR? Unless you got lymphedema in an arm or you got a catheter. I mean, there's just very few contraindications.
Very few.
Yeah.
I'm digging deep here, Mike, into my wheelhouse of trying to figure out a reason that somebody shouldn't use this technology. And I'm kind of coming up blank here, which is kind of interesting for me. So we're going to get into, a little sort of sample program for somebody who's going to go through a joint replacement. But before we do that, I wanted to go back and emphasize something you were talking about, which is the difficulty in healing, let's say, connective tissue. And the reason for that being that there's very, very little vascularization within your ligaments and your tendons, which are all not muscle, not bone, both of which actually heal faster than CT. Connective tissue requires so much more blood flow that it takes sometimes forever to heal. But when you're doing this, you're actually getting a release of VEGF. I can't remember, vascular endothelial growth factor. Is that what it stands for?
Growth factor. Yeah.
So you're actually building blood vessels. You're actually improving your vascularization of otherwise kind of compromised tissues. So in the joint space, the reason that you're going to get healing to your left rotator cuff, even though you've just been doing squats with your bands on, is because of that type of apparatus, right? Instead of 6 months of recovery, maybe even like 4 to 6 weeks. I don't know. It's probably going to be very, very quick.
I mean, we're seeing fractures heal in 2 weeks. But
yeah,
there's two things you need to be able to do. One, right? He just talked about it. We need to improve blood flow into the tissues that don't have good blood flow. And then number two, what controls how much collagen, how thick your skin is, how pliable the growth hormone, IGF-1. You turn those on and now your body's saying, hey, let's make those tendons, ligaments, hair, skin, nails, bone, eyes, brain, organs, lungs. Let's make all those tissues more flexible, more elastic. Let's get those tissues holding more collagen. Growth hormone is what makes that happen. So when you do BFR, you're improving the blood flow and your body is telling all this connective tissue to get healthier. You're approaching it from both sides of the spectrum. And I mean, I have people that shockingly call me. I did one BFR session. My 4-year knee pain's gone. What in the world? I said, well, you're still doing it every day, right? Oh, yeah, I've been doing it. Well, you just turned it on. You just turned on your own body to go do it yourself. And it's just fast, like your shoulder, Nathan. Is it still hurting or is it not hurting anymore?
That's fine now.
Does it still hurt?
No, it doesn't hurt at all. Like,
How long was it?
there you go.
How long was it hurting for?
Well, I injured it a year ago, stepping through a hole in my uncle's deck. He had pulled the tread up looking for his cat and didn't replace it. I stepped into it. Instead of falling forward and snapping my leg below the knee, I caught myself on my left shoulder and just jammed the infraspinatus. So it was hurting for a long time. And then I started working with a couple practitioners and I took 6 months off of exercise. And I felt bad. I lost like 14 pounds of muscle, and it wasn't until, I mean, I was still feeling a little inkling, and then Kyle threw those straps on me at his house, and it just
And it just gone
like that. I mean, it was
like
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I know that I've listened to some interviews you've done, and those stories abound. You know what else I was probably, the other thing that I was probably doing around that time is that Kyle and his wife Tosh eat a high protein diet. Do you have any recommendations for people that are looking to get the best bang for their buck from this neurohumoral cascade, as far as diet goes, like fasting, not fasting? Like what say you about that?
Well, any diet that you do is going to benefit from vigorous exercise and BFR. So I have my personal opinions about keto and intermittent fasting and all that stuff. And I stay away from that. Here's what I will say. Look, if you want to build muscle, we all know you need protein. If you want to build muscle, you probably need to eat a good protein source 4 times a day. Ladies, 10 grams, you know, t- talk to some nutrition specialists about that. Guys, if you really want to crank on the muscle, you probably need some protein 5, 6 times a day. Um, so what I've seen, the keto, the intermittent fasting, the vegan, they all call me and say, oh my gosh, it all works. And that's what I've, well, of course it
Whatever
works.
works. Yeah,
You,
yeah, yeah,
you, whatever you found and you think will work, if you turn on growth hormone and nitric oxide, well, you're certainly going to have a dramatically better chance of it working.
mm,
So I've had keto people call me and say, look, I measure my carbon dioxide. I know when I'm in keto and it's really hard, but when I get there, I stay there. Cool. Dr. Mike, I did the
mm.
bands and I've eaten carbs all day. And I went and measured. I'm in keto after the bands. How's that possible? Well, you hit the burn, you turned on thyroid, and you're in fat burn. So you
Mm.
can get into fat burn without doing keto, but if you want to do keto, that's fine too. But how do you
Yeah,
get into fat burn? You create a deep enough fatigue through exercise to turn on your body after exercise to go use fat for energy versus preserving it because you're stressed.
yeah, yeah. So when we're going to get into the joint replacement next, but one last thing that I was thinking about, people are going to be, they're pregnant, they're listening.
Hmm.
I know you can't give advice. Guys, go and talk to your doctors if you want your
Yeah.
doctor's opinion about what to do here. However, we've got two doctors, chiropractics, OBGYN. We're both experimenting with this. We both care about,
Hmm.
you know, optimizing metabolism and
Yeah.
the health of your musculoskeletal system in pregnancy. If somebody wanted to try this in pregnancy, can you see any reason that it would be a catastrophic idea? Or could we
Okay.
play with this? I'm personally not seeing it, but just want to make
Right.
sure that we covered that.
Well, number one, here's what I tell people. Here's what you should do. You should go type in BFR and death into Google, see if you can find it. It's not out there. Then you should type in BFR and lost pregnancy. It's also not out there. So there's hundreds of thousands of people around the world doing this, especially in Japan. These incidents aren't happening. Okay. Number two, if you're going to do BFR, you're going to simulate vigorous exercise. You and your doctor should be okay with you being pregnant and simulating some vigorous exercise. But guess what? It's dramatically less stress. You're not going to be putting all this mechanical stress on the womb,
Yeah.
but you and your doctor should say, I'm okay if I go do some stair climber. I'm okay if
Yeah.
I do some push-ups. I'm okay if I do some air squats and I get the burn. Then absolutely you can put the
Yeah.
bands on and simulate that. All we're doing, everyone, is simulating vigorous exercise with dramatically less work. So if you're already used to doing vigorous exercise, I'd go to my doctor and say, hey, and we have a page on our website, everyone. When you go to Nathan's page, there's a doctor's review button. Tell your doctor to read it. And here's all I'll say. I've never had one obstetrician, one MD, one GP, one hormone doctor ever read that and tell their patients don't do that.
Okay.
100% they
That's
always
really,
come
really
back and
helpful.
go, yeah, I heard of it. Interesting. Yeah, I've read the science. Looks great. Looks safe. Give it a try. That's always what they say when they go read it. So if anybody wants to do that, go to the doctor's review button, review it yourself, send it over to your doc, and let them review it
Yeah.
also.
yeah, why put yourself through, the 2 hours on the treadmill? Why not just nip this in the bud and still get all the benefits? So I'm with you. Again, I'm trying to find reasons why people would be objecting to this, but coming up empty-handed. Let's
You know how many
let's
people
talk about
object to it, Nathan? Are the people that don't put it on, right? Because you're going to hear, I tell you what, you're
yeah,
going to go, you're going to be going, oh, come on, Nathan. Come on,
yeah,
Mike. Really? Really? And then you put them on, you go, oh, geez, wow. Everybody.
yeah,
Never had a person
yeah.
not put the demands on and go, okay, I don't feel it. Everybody goes, oh,
Oh
wow.
boy, this is new.
Now I get it. I feel it. I know what that feeling is. I know the burn. I know the pump. I just can't understand how I'm getting it so fast and so easy. That's what your
Yeah.
brain's going to do. And then you're going to flip the switch and you're going to go, okay, why would I ever? So people say to me, "Hey Mike, when's the last time you worked out with the bands?" And I go, well, "Why would I do that?" Right? Why would I? You want to go work out for Doc? You want to go do a CrossFit? Why?
Yeah,
Why am I going to do that?
yeah, yeah.
If it's socially therapeutic, I get it. But physically, why would I want to do that to my body? I've already replaced 3 joints doing that for 40 years, right? I want to keep the ones I've got left.
Yeah, you could spend 3 months. You could pay for your CrossFit membership for 3 months, or you could go to riley.b3sciences.com and pick up a set of these. And I don't know if I'll ever be a gym member again. I'm being very serious. This is so easy and it's so effective. Just after 30 days, I can't imagine. I'm gonna look like a totally new man in a year. It's gonna be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got an aging population. Let's wrap this up with some joint stuff. We've got an
Mhm.
aging population. Maybe they haven't even heard of this, but my mother's a great example. She's had one complete knee replacement. I don't know if that's the right word, full or complete, whatever. And then her other knee now is due to be replaced. So she's got one bionic knee and she's got the other one that is really making it hard for her to travel, to hike. She's retired. So she wants to be active, pickleball and all of this. I want to get her started using the B3 bands before she has the surgery, which is coming up in a few months. And then I want to help her integrate the blood flow restriction training into her post-operative recovery. So if you guys, if you're just tuning in now and you didn't listen to the whole episode, as you get older, you're going to be losing muscle. Your hormones are going to be all out of whack. Oftentimes women's thyroid slow down and men's, but most, in my patient population, it's women. Bone mineral density becomes an issue. Falling, fracturing, injuries are more likely. There's all of the things that come with aging. We get it. I don't personally want to live forever, but I don't want to be worrying about having my knees replaced at 65. But here we are
Right.
with my mom. She's 69 this year. And 69, yeah, I hope I don't have that right. Sorry, mom, you're probably listening. But she's doing great, being in her late 60s. But now she's going to get this knee replacement, and she's worried that it's going to
Yeah.
be at least 6 months of recovery. How can we utilize this technology? I know that we're kind of starting to just repeat ourselves, but can you give me like a little
Oh,
program
yeah.
that might be useful for her before and after this
Absolutely.
surgery?
Let me tell a story. Let me tell you my story real quick. Real quick. First hip replacement, 12 weeks. That's pretty good. I'm running at 12 weeks. Second hip replacement. I'm 4 hours post surgery. I'm sitting on the edge of the bed doing little pink dumbbells with my bands on. Nurse comes in, loses her mind. I'm like, hey, just do what you got to do. Leave me alone. Why am I doing BFR post injury, post surgery? I'm trying to maintain elevated nitric oxide and growth hormone so it doesn't crash with injury. Okay. I'm home on day 2 and I've got the bands on and I'm doing the same rehab that I would normally do. The rehab doesn't change, but I'm getting a pump and a burn in my hip muscles and leg muscles. It feels like I'm doing weights, which no chance I get that. And so I've minimized atrophy. I've minimized muscle wasting. I've turned growth hormone and nitric oxide back on during the healing process. And at 5 weeks, I was running, and the doctor said, not I came back. He says, not possible. I said, come on. I went out on the
5 weeks?
treadmill and I took off 5 weeks. I took off and ran on a treadmill.
Wow.
He's like, what are you doing? Stop. I'm like, dude, and I explained to him what I did. Now they're doing BFR. Okay. So for post injury, you're going to double your healing time. Now, what do you do for people who have disabilities going in? We've got knee rehab exercises that she can do that are short range of motion movements. Like we can put her in a skier position, no bending, no going up and down. She'll get a burn on her quads and glutes and hams like she's doing exercise. She'll turn on growth hormone and nitric oxide, and her hip will start feeling better. And then maybe
So
we'll
just
have her do a
like a
step.
chair pose, like
Just
just kind of a
yeah,
slight tuck. Okay, gotcha.
yeah. Just get
Wow.
into that skier's tuck, right? And then
Yeah.
maybe we'll have her do leaning on the table here, and we'll just do some rear donkey kicks. Just pick up the rear leg. This is called our seniors 4-minute leg workout. It's 4 minutes, and then we've got a couple short knee exercises if they want to add them. Let me tell you something. You take a senior who's got a joint issue, a back problem, and you turn on growth hormone. It's the same thing Nathan just experienced. It's going to feel
Yeah.
better. Now, she's still going to need the surgery. I don't know, but I can tell you I got hundreds of people who've either delayed. I've got a Olympic gymnast, Amy Twiggs, was scheduled for bilateral knee replacement. That was 3 years ago. Knees feel
Wow.
30 years younger. She's not getting good growth hormone and nitric oxide to help the joint heal. And if she goes and tries to get it in the gym, it's going to flare the whole thing up because it's too much load. So they're stuck in this catch-22, can't do the work to get it, right? And can't stimulate the healing and effect. Now, when you buy those bands at riley.b3science.com, you're going to get a coach. We're going to email you the program. So if you got a knee, write us back. Hey, I got a knee. This is what's going on. And if my coaches don't know the program to send you, don't be surprised if I call you up and say, all right, tell me a little bit more about it. And we'll custom design a program for everybody. I got people in wheelchairs, walkers, partial amputees. We can get the bands on. We'll figure out a way to get a burn and turn on this response that Nathan's been talking about.
Amazing. Well, we're going to have a real life case study then with my mom. And I love her dearly and I want the best for her. And for me to say, hey, let's put together a 3 to 4 day workout program at the Planet Fitness or whatever. Number one, she's bored. Number two, she's got plenty of other stuff going on. Number three, she really can't push it that hard anymore. Like I worry about her, So if we could get her back on her feet playing pickleball, I'd be the son of the year. I mean, I already am
Yeah.
because I'm her only son, but sorry, Emily, my sister, I'm still the son of the year. I think that this is, there is a remarkable opportunity here for people that want to see, who've just gotten tired of the same old, same old. So I will include in the show notes, guys, some of the studies that I've just been kind of piling this stuff on my plate ever since I heard about your system. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and for making my life so much better too. Really, really.
Thank you. Yeah, it's people like you that are going to help us, right? Get a million people. And why do we want to do that? Because we, for the first time in my lifetime, we can really make a change here. We get people off of traditional and into this. I mean, we could possibly see a change in the trajectory of heart disease and blood sugar finally and weight loss.
Oh my gosh.
Which we've never seen
Finally.
in my lifetime. We just keep, no matter what comes along, we don't move the needle. Well, yeah, we're not doing what the body needs. Right. I'm excited about one day doctors will be able to prescribe this for osteoporosis, right? And insurance will pay for it.
Yeah.
That'll be a great day.
And I think it bears repeating here that if you go to, I tell people you really can't expect great lifestyle advice from your doctor. But even if your doctor does give you advice, you may have a couple kids at home. You have like 2 jobs. You're just trying to make ends meet. I'm like, if you can just carry your groceries to and from the car instead of using a cart, maybe that's the most exercise we can do. But now we're just talking about a couple minutes per day for the everyday person. This could be that thing that your doctor just says, listen, I get it. You don't have time, but we've got some real issues here. Try these bands. It's going to probably be the same cost of a couple co-payments to those clinic visits where you get 7 minutes to talk about nothing with your doctor. You can take control of this. This is a really great opportunity for people. And I wouldn't be touting it if I didn't try it. And I've never actually done an interview like this, Mike, where I just bring somebody on to talk about specifically this one product for exercise. This is a total game changer for me. So I mean that genuinely from the heart. It's incredible here what you've done. So, final remarks. Where can people find you if they're listening? And of course, we'll put everything in the show notes.
Well, just, go to Riley's website, riley.b3sciences.com. There's a whole host of stuff
Everything.
out there. You can read about bone, brain, vein, pickleball, speed training, volleyball jumping. We put 6 inches on a volleyball player. My son went from a 4.6 240 to a 4.35 in 8 weeks, got 10 scholarship offers in football, saved me 200,000. I mean, golfers are starting to implement this. I mean, it's just all on that website for you to dive in, but it's real simple. Get them. And if you don't love them, here's my promise: you don't love them, send them back. I'll take them back, give you all your money back minus shipping. You got nothing to lose here. We're going to coach you. We're going to help you. There's only one kind of bands that comes back to our facility, the ones that don't go on. If you put these on and you give it a couple times to try it, we'll give you the workouts. You're gonna be a different person. You just are. You're gonna live a different kind of life, and that's really why we're living, to live long, healthy, vital, and enjoy. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. Lifespan is not as important as health span. I mean, you and I both know that. But what if we could have both? What if you could live longer and actually love being alive? I think that that's really important. So Mike, thank you so much. We will definitely be sending
Thank
people
you.
your way. I've already got it up on my website, guys, riley.b3sciences.com if you want to score a pair of these. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. But Mike, is there a way people can reach out to you on Instagram or anything,
Well,
or through your website?
support at b3sciences.com. So you see the address down there, B3 Sciences. You got any questions? Got a whole team here, support, SUPPORT, at b3sciences.com. You got some high level stuff, you're probably going to hear from me. My coaches
Yeah.
know when to get me involved. If you're on meds, you got this, you're really concerned, send it over. Once you get your bands, our coach will email you right back and tell us what's going on, and one of us will help you. I might even call you and get on the phone and help you with the workout
Yeah.
program.
Incredible. Well, thank you, Doc. I really appreciate your time
Thank
today.
you.
And I'm sure hopefully we can continue chatting because I've got all kinds of
Yeah.
ideas here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.